And we are live, and there is Monkey sitting in the chair. Hopefully, he stays calm. Dusty's around here too, isn't she? Hi, Dusty. Bye, Dusty. All right. As we get ready to move around and look at more DVDs, we started off over here. And here's Uncle. Hey, buddy. Say hi to everybody. No one's in here yet. That is Uncle. He knows his name. Hi. He knows his name, just for contrast. He's like a small dog, huge cat. But we started off over here looking at media, and we looked at this is Saturday morning and after school cartoons, vintage ones. Saturday morning and after school cartoons, uh, a selection of vintage commercials and live action stuff, and after school, not after school, but holiday specials. And then we moved over here and we looked at some anime, some more adult oriented cartoons like The Critic and Boondocks and things like that. And there's some Godzilla stuff in there and some other kaiju related stuff and a bunch of kung fu movies. And of course, the big Jerry Anderson selection is piled up right there. Today, we're going to move into television shows. Television shows. And there's Austin Bird. How am I doing today? I'm doing all right. Okay, so far. Okay, so far. Monkey, I'm going to need that step ladder. I'll turn the light on. Try to turn on the extra lamp to cast some additional light into that side of the room so it's not too shaded. Over here by the Toys R Us sign. That's it. Well, it's a Toys R Us banner that Johnny Future sent that to us a long time ago. Johnny Future sent that to us. But, we'll start up here. I'll try to start up here. On the top row, taking a look at some classic television shows, because, of course, my wife and I, we do not really watch hardly anything as far as new television is concerned. We watch mostly vintage programming. So we have a large selection, and this isn't all of it either. This is just, well, the majority of it is right here, but we have more in the other room as well, and some packed up and so on. But classic television, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Alfred Hitchcock Presents, seasons 1 and 2. Great show, actually. I don't have more than just the first 2 seasons. I've only got the first 2 seasons of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Primarily a forgotten series. People have forgotten all about Alfred Hitchcock Presents. I recommend it. It's really good writing. It really is. Now, Ash versus the Evil Dead. And I think I have this because I found it. It's sealed. I found it in a thrift store. So I paid like $1 for it. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have it. I like Ash. I like 80s Ash of the Evil Dead. This show was like, oh, and Josh is here, and Josh is free, of course. Glad you could join us. Over the top, just like gory and raunchy and unnecessary. I didn't care for it. They made his character too much of a buffoon, and there was a lot of unnecessary stuff, I thought, that was added to. They set the bar lower, let's just put it that way. The original Battlestar Galactica. The original Battlestar Galactica. 1 season, of course, the show was canceled because the toy line was canceled. And the toy line was canceled because someone swallowed a rocket and died, unfortunately. But lenticular cover where his eye pops back and forth, or it's supposed to. This is a good show. It's well done, great production, an expensive production for the time period. The original, complete Benny Hill. I have not watched this in a very long time, but Benny Hill is classic. Classic comedy. The only movie I ever remember seeing Benny Hill in is Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Does anyone know if he was in another movie? He might have been. I just don't remember seeing him in anything but Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff you can't show these days. People would have their feelings hurt if they watched any of this, pretty much. Blackadder, all 5 generations. So Blackadder 1 through 5, actually the 5th generation, which is a made-for-TV movie, which has Blackadder in the modern era, was not very good at all. It wasn't very well done at all. It wasn't even funny. The other incarnations were quite funny, particularly 3 and 4 I thought were the best of Blackadder. So I'm a fan of the Blackadder series, but again, the made-for-TV movie, the 5th incarnation, really wasn't very good in my opinion. Just a couple of discs from the Carol Burnett show. Classic television and variety show comedy done right. And modern variety shows like Talking to You, SNL, could take a lesson from this because they just ran with it while they were filming. How many times have you seen, if you're familiar with this, Tim Conway going off script and just really screwing with people? But that's where you got some of your best stuff. I really miss the Carol Burnett show and shows like it. Cheers, it's only the first season here. Cheers is another one that went through a lot of weird incarnations. The first few seasons with, oh God, what was her name? With the Diana character, Shelley Long, right? Shelley Long, were fun. Then they brought in Kirstie Alley and the show just sucked, frankly. It wasn't that great. But then the final season, the writers really wanted to go for it. And the final season is probably their best season. Really good writing on the final season of Cheers. The Cosby Show, of course, classic. I haven't watched this I probably haven't seen The Cosby Show since it was on the air, but I have this. And it is classic sitcom, primetime television. One of these days I'll get around to it. 8 seasons that lasted. The Ollie G Show, which is just kind of ridiculous. I found this obviously at a Goodwill. And some of it's entertaining. I like the Ollie G character. I get what he's trying to do there. Some of the other stuff that he does, like Borat and, whatever, I don't really care for. There's select interviews of the Dick Cavett Show. And then the Dukes of Hazzard. The Dukes of Hazzard. With the flag on the box, because this came out before they tried to cancel it. And this is all 7 seasons of the Dukes of Hazzard. And then 2 versions of the movie. Because, there was a movie that came out after the fact with Willie Nelson playing Uncle Jesse. And I'm like, how come you show all 7 seasons, and then you give us the movie, but you don't have the made-for-TV reunion movie? I'd rather see that than this. What the hell, Dukes of Hazzard? What happened? What's that all about? What are you going to do? Where's my comments? Okay. Because I'm hoping... Is anybody commenting? Because I'm not seeing comments, and that's happened before, where the comments are not there and people are talking. And because I do try to respond. If I see a comment, I'll try to answer you. Galactica 1980, which was a terribly written show. It was badly done. They got rid of primary characters. They landed on Earth. The plots are weak. There's 2 episodes. Oh, Out of Sight is here. I guess the comments are working. Glad you can make it out of sight. There's 2 episodes. You can find this dirt cheap because nobody likes this. Galactica 1980. 2 episodes are worth it. One is a two-parter, which is a Halloween special, co-starring Wolfman Jack of all people, and then the final episode, The Return of Starbuck, because he's not in this series, which is probably the best written of the entire series, including the original Battlestar Galactica. Well worth checking out. James says, have you seen the documentary series Planet Earth from BBC? I do believe I have. Get Smart. It's only one season. I don't have anything else. I found this at a thrift store. Gilligan's Island, classic television. Really, really bright colorization in this. People have complained about that costumes, but they did that because they transitioned from black and white to color right in the middle of the first season, correct? Classic comedy. I enjoy this this series. I know it's goofy, but I actually really like Gilligan's Island. I'm a sucker for that. And this has the Rescue from Gilligan's Island, which is the follow-up. See, to Rescue from Gilligan's Island, wackiest wagon train in the West, but this is the first of 2 made-for-TV movies that revisited Gilligan's Island, where they got rid of the original Ginger. They kind of blew her off. Where they get rescued and then they get lost again. Go figure. Heroes of the West. This is just a collage of different Western shows. The Bill Cosby Show, the original Cosby Show, which I think only had, I think there was only one season, wasn't there? I don't remember. He's a basketball coach in this. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and this is the BBC television miniseries, Hitchhiker's Guide, which was fun. Really, really cheesy, like 70s Doctor Who special effects in it, though. First season of Hogan's Heroes, that's all I've got for Hogan's Heroes. Another show you can't show today. Gotta let that one go. And let me see, John McJunkin is here. Glad you could make it. And James says, favorite 90s cartoon. Exo Squad, I thought was really, really good. Exo Squad. It with Tim Curry. And this, of course, is the made-for-TV miniseries It, which I like better than the new incarnation. But they're both good, just in a different way, but this one I prefer. Best of Johnny Carson. I will tell you that when Johnny Carson retired, and they had what was referred to at that time, if you're old enough to remember, the late night wars, as everybody battled to take his position as king of late night. Late night television has never been good since. He had a there was a certain class to the show. No matter how silly it got, there was a class to the show that I have not seen on any other late night show since. Late night TV died when he retired. Jupiter Moon, First of Isle. This is part of a British series. I have not ever actually seen this. I've not seen it, but I have it. And let me see here. James says there are some DVDs from Shout Factory that have children's shows and Saturday Westing Roundup. Hopefully I'll try to find them. And Elite Action Joe is here. Says, right about late night. Right about late night. Yeah, I think that there was a class that came with this, and it just, the late night TV just went to shit when he retired. Kung Fu with David Carradine, the complete collection Kung Fu. This is a fantastic show. It is very well acted. It has a large Asian cast, which was very difficult to accomplish back then. And, there's always that connotation of, hey, um, they always used to try to like put makeup on white guys and make them Chinese. They had a hard time finding Asian actors back then. I remember Bonanza. I've seen actually the press package for Bonanza from before the pilot episode came out, and it was beaming about the fact that they had an actual Chinese actor playing the part of Hop Sing. They were thrilled that they could find a Chinese actor that could speak English. So it wasn't that easy back then. But David Carradine ended up with the part primarily because they didn't want Bruce Lee to have it because they didn't like him. Bruce Lee was notorious for being a pain in the ass. Um, James says favorite video game, cartoon, and anime. Come on now. Favorite anime probably Star Blazers. Cartoons, the Smurfs. It's hard to say though because there's so many. There's so many good ones. Video games, I wouldn't even know where to start, but I default usually to Nintendo NES or Sega Genesis, and we'll be talking about that some in the future here because I've got a lot of vintage video game cartridges and systems that we play. Complete Monty Python, the original '60s Monty Python series, which is also classic and is also fading away. There's a lot of stuff in here people would consider to be offensive now. And that's a shame because it was very innovative for the time period. Lex, which was like a sci-fi series from the 90s. It was a Canadian show, 3 seasons. It was a mini, originally it was like a made-for-TV miniseries that spun off into a complete series. So season one, season two, season three and four. Okay, season. It's a good show. The computer graphics for the ships, they don't hold up. Just being honest, it looks like like an old video game. Season four is trash, except for like the last episode. The last couple of episodes are okay, but the rest of season four is garbage. It's badly written, badly acted. I don't know what happened to it. I guess it's like they just kind of gave up on the show. Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. The Martian Chronicles. There's a set of action figures from this. Man, they are rare. They are very rare, very hard to find. It was a mini series. It's a cool series. And this was a library copy, and I've never underestimate those library sales. This is an expensive DVD set. I got it at the library for $1. Mork and Mindy season one. I've never opened this. I only have season one, and this is another one I don't think it kind of really holds up. It's not that great of a show, but it is very nostalgic. Mr. Bean, and in case you never figured it out, Dusty, what the hell are you doing? Go somewhere, Dusty. Quit digging under the closet door. Mr. Bean is an alien, which is alluded to when a beam of light drops him on the street in the opening sequence. But this is fun. I never saw the cartoon though. I know there's a cartoon version. The Complete Monsters. I used to watch this when I was a kid in reruns along with the Addams Family, but I haven't seen this since I was a kid. But it's in queue. We have all the time in the world, my wife and I. All the time in the world. Neverwhere. Here's another one I picked up at a thrift store, but it's like a mini series from the UK. Night Court season one. I've only got season one. This is another show that trying to go back and rewatch it, I don't think it really holds up. I don't think it was that great. Looking at it as an adult. Maybe it gets better as the seasons wear on, but watching season one, I wasn't too thrilled with it. Let me see if there's any more comments there. John says Johnny Carson was a true professional TV show host. He allowed guests to shine while he simply reacted to what they did. And Austin says it's like you can't show any older shows nowadays because people get all in their feelings. People need to look themselves in the mirror and ask themselves, Why I'm offended by this. And James says, ever seen the show Simon in the Land of Chalk? Curious George, Lalina, Paddington Bear, Dangerous Mouse, Danger Mouse. I've seen Danger Mouse. I've seen Curious George. I have not seen Paddington or The Land of Chalk. And Elite Action says Monty Python was a favorite of mine. Just bought 4 Holy Grail figures that had been stolen. Wow, with my collection, never thought I'd have them again. Oh my. Well, glad you got it back. Night Gallery, which is the next series by Rod Serling after Twilight Zone. Night Gallery is a pretty fun series, although the season 3 starts getting more, what's the term for it? It's like more supernatural than anything. It went in a different direction. It's not that it's bad, but it doesn't feel the same as the first 2 seasons. One Step Beyond, another classic 60s, right? Was it 60s? Off the top of my head, I don't remember if this was late 50s or early 60s. Planet of the Apes, the live action series. Very underrated. Very underrated show, the live action. And this is around the same time as the animated Saturday morning Planet of the Apes. And by the way, again, as I pointed out when we looked at the animated series, the animated one is the closest, I believe, to the novel of any incarnation. But this was a good series, and this is what the Mego action figures are based off of. Miniseries Salem's Lot. Classic miniseries. Nosferatu style vampire. This is a fun watch. I recommend that. Let me see, I saw a comment pop up there. I think I did. John says it's strange, but we actually got several British TV shows in one of the small substations in Utica, New York. I think it was Channel 8, but they had Benny Hill, Mr. Bean, Monty Python, and The Saint. And Brian is here, and he says he's here. Saturday Night Live, not SNL, Saturday Night Live. The first 5 seasons. From back when it was funny. Back when it was funny, now it's garbage. It's complete garbage now. I don't know what happened to it. It outlived its usefulness. They kept it on the air so long because it was on the air so long, and it doesn't need to be on the air anymore. But you learn a lot of interesting history about television watching this. Worst guest star that I've seen in here, Desi Arnaz. Lucille Ball's husband. Absolutely dreadful performance from Desi Arnaz. And most shocking was Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor, I don't know what the hell was going on when he was on. In his monologue, he must have used the N word like 50 times. And it went over the air. They didn't try to stop him. Anyone else tried to do that, they would have been hell to pay. And then you could actually even consider some of his portrayals as like ridiculous and offensive. It's like, what are you doing? The Prisoner. Very interesting show. The last episode is weird, but very interesting show, The Prisoner. A lot of people suspect that this is actually a sequel to Danger Man, which my wife and I are watching now. My favorite episode from this is Hammer into Anvil. Hammer into Anvil. Let me adjust this. Here's one a lot of you might have never seen. Quark, the complete series from the 1970s, and you might recognize that actor because he was in a lot of stuff. He was in Westworld. He was the hero in Westworld with Yul Brynner, which is one of the inspirations for the Terminator. And he was in Love at First Bite with Mark Hamilton. Was it Mark Hamilton? George Hamilton. I said it wrong. George Hamilton. There's only a few episodes on here I don't even think there's 10 episodes. I forget. And it was a parody show. The robot is absolutely mind-bogglingly hilarious on this. The robot is nuts because he's a robot, but he has like one emotion, it's fear. He's scared of everything. It's a comedy that pokes fun at every sci-fi show, sci-fi TV show and movie, and they got sued by like everybody, and they finally just shut down the production. Ray Bradbury Theater, interesting show, great writing, and if you watch this, just like with the Twilight Zone, you will recognize plots in shows that came later all over the place. Also, it's interesting to pick out people who would be stars, that this is early in their career. See if you recognize anybody right there. People who this is early in their career appeared as guests on that show. Let me see here. John says the sketch with Richard Pryor and Chevy Chase and the word association skit is still so controversial that it's bleeped out when shown these days. Yeah, and he does basically the same thing with John Belushi with the samurai sketch where he's the black samurai, Yo Mama San, and all of that business, where he intimidates everybody. And it's like, yeah, I mean, Richard Pryor is like 90 pounds wet, and Chevy Chase is like a big goon. If you remember him from those days, he was a big dude, which was the point of that sketch. Red Dwarf, the complete collection, which is not the complete collection because it only goes up to season 8, and they have since done more seasons, but I've only got it to season 8. Very, very popular show, and they keep bringing it back. I heard actually that they're going to do another season. They're going to do yet another season of Red Dwarf. Popular show. It's a fun show. It's a fun show. Goofy show. The Rookies, first season only. Classic 70s television. Action figures by LJN. LJN. And they're hard to find on the card, folks. I have a few. James says, I found the complete series of the 70s Incredible Hulk on DVD. Great show. And the artist formerly known as Jesse says what? Says that's a great collection. And speaking of which, James, there it is. That is the Incredible Hulk, the complete series, the deluxe box set, with all of the made-for-TV movies included. The only problem with it is that, and it's got that holographic transformation cover. My wife doesn't want to see it because the show makes her upset because it's actually, when you go back and you watch it, it's a pretty solid drama. It's pretty sad. The show's sad and foolish because David Banner had many, many opportunities to get help from people, and he wouldn't take it because he wanted to stay on the run. Rose Red, the miniseries from Stephen King again. This is a good miniseries also. I recommend this. Rose Red is... and most miniseries based on Stephen King properties are pretty good. Even though he always whines about it, that it's, oh, that's not how I wrote it and it's not that great, man. He always cries about it afterwards, but he sure does sell the rights all over the place, doesn't he? Yes, indeed. And let me see, Robert says, LPH doesn't like the Incredible Hulk, she said. Yeah, she doesn't. Only because, it's not because it's bad, but only because it's a really deep drama. A lot of the episodes are kind of sad and depressing. Seinfeld, all 9 seasons of Seinfeld. I'm a fan of Seinfeld. I like the Seinfeld show. I like the silliness of it. I like that. I like that you have the cleverness of taking 4 unlikable characters and creating a scenario by which you'll still tune in every week even though you don't like them. That's brilliant. That's brilliant writing. And you've seen that. I Love Lucy is an example of that. Lucy's not a likable character. She's a pain in the ass. She is annoying. But since she never succeeds with whatever her scheme is, you can tolerate it. The same thing was done with, um, oh, what's the name of that show? Keeping Up Appearances. Mrs. Bouquet, Mrs. Bucket, same thing. She's not a likable character. And I have also Keeping Up Appearances and Are You Being Served, which is classic British comedy, but it's not here. It's in a different location. Shogun. The original Shogun, not the one that's on the TV now. That's a remake of this. The classic 70s Shogun. I think it was late 70s, right? Or 1980. It might have been 1980. This was so well done. This is a great miniseries, good music, very authentically done in Japan, speaking Japanese and having a narrator translate. This was so well done. I'm a big fan of the Shogun miniseries. Let me catch up a couple of comments here. John says, I still thought the Richard Pryor show on NBC was way ahead of its time, especially his skits as the Reverend James L. White and the first black president. I don't remember it that well, to be honest. Brian says, were you into the show Two and a Half Men? I never watched it. And Marvel Fan has joined us. He says, a great movie collection is essential. Yes, especially hard copy, because things happen and stuff gets removed and changed. We've talked about that before. There's a lot of scenes, things that I saw in the theater that when I got the disc or the VHS, it wasn't there. You know what I mean? It disappeared. And Eric says, I know you guys are now watching The Wonder Years. Speaking of sad, I always felt that that show was sad as hell. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of sad revelations in that show. Soap, the complete series, which is only 3 seasons, and of course it had a spin-off which was Benson. This is a classic show, or was it 4? Yeah, it says 4 seasons. I don't know why I said 3, because I don't remember. Because it's been a long time since I've seen this, and of course, Soap is a parody of soap operas. It was a 70s parody of soap operas. And it's where you saw the earliest of Billy Crystal's career. This is before he was even on Saturday Night Live. The lead action says Two and a Half Men is funny. Okay. Yeah, I've never seen it. Marvel Fan says Shogun inspired the Wolverine miniseries. Okay. And I always wanted to see a continuation of this, and they never did. They never did. Space 1999, a Jerry Anderson production. This is a really good series. Great special effects, especially for the time period. Really good acting. Very intriguing plots. Very interesting plots on this. 2 seasons only. The first season I thought was better than the second season, and you know that happens. I'm rewatching this. I wasn't too happy with the Maya character, even though she's very popular, because it suddenly became like the Maya show, and I didn't understand that. And what happened to Bergman? They never tell you. The Stand, another Stephen King miniseries. This is a good series. This is fun. You all remember Moon. M-O-O-N. That spells moon. Help yourself to whatever you want. It ain't stealing if there's nobody left. And a couple of comments there. Robert says, you got Taxi. Love that show. And are taxis still around or replaced with Uber? Yeah, they still have actual taxis. Marvel says, poor Moon. That's right. Robert says, I like Soap. They kept doing Jessica wrong. And Nick says, spooky. And he was in chat, but I don't see him. Oh, Spooky said he was in the chat and I don't see him. I don't know. I don't know. Just a bit of Stargate there, and you know who that is. You know who that is. I don't know why I have like 3 random discs of Stargate Atlantis. I've never even seen it. I remember the movie and I remember the show, but I haven't seen that. Star Hunter, the complete series. It's an 80s throwback. Was it 80s? When the hell did Star Hunter come out? I don't remember. I do not remember Star Hunter that well, to be honest. Nick says, what about Taxi Driver? Well, that's a movie. We're on TV shows. And and James says, I have the original Star Trek series on Blu-ray that I found at a library. Excellent. So you probably got a good deal. This is the original DVD series in the tricorder-like boxes. Seasons 1, 2, and 3. That's good enough for me. I'm happy with this. Look, it was $0. Oops. Must have got a good deal there. The tricorder box collection. And they also made a tricorder box, of course, for the animated series, the Saturday morning cartoon, which I also have. It's just classic television. It's a fun show. It's a show that nobody thought was going to make it and had such a cultural significance, or as I often say, it was a cultural phenomenon that Star Trek is still around, even though it's not nearly as good now. The stuff they're producing now, I have to wonder about. And Line Stalker says, I think they blocked Spookies. I don't know who Spookies is. So I haven't blocked anybody as far as I know. Another King, Storm of the Century. Found this at a thrift store too. Storm of the Century is the only one of Stephen King's productions, I believe, that was actually written for television. It was a script before it was a book, instead of the other way around. Instead of going the other way around. This is a really fun watch also. Really fun watch. Taxi, the complete series. 5 seasons of Taxi. Great writing. And you know what's kind of funny is the only person who played an actor on the show was the only one that really didn't have much of a career after the show. But then, of course, you know, he had major addiction problems. He really did. He had major addiction problems, unfortunately. And then there was the whole fiasco with, oh God, what the hell is his name? The actor who played Latka. I'm trying to think of his name off the top of my head. He had that big thing with the wrestling with Jerry Lawler. And between a lot of the antics that he was getting into, CBS did not like it, and they wanted to get rid of him. They really wanted to get rid of him. And let me see. And Ben says, do you have Seinfeld? Right here. Seinfeld, the complete series. As we're working our way down here. Andy Kaufman said elite. Thank you. And Eric also says Andy Kaufman. I couldn't think of his name. But between the wrestling women and the staged event on David Letterman, where Lawler smacks him out of his chair and he falls down, and the other character that he used to play that he would switch out with another guy, and it was a really horrible comedian. CBS had all they could stand of Andy Kaufman, and that's also part of the reason why they ended up walking away from Taxi. Time Slip, really obscure British television series. I think it actually even starts out in black and white and transitions into color. Try to imagine Doctor Who, but it's like a 12-year-old, basically, and it's a warp that he goes in and out of, that he discovers somewhere, rather than having a device that he travels through time with. And Nick says, do you have X-rated movies? No, I do not. And I don't have Becker. No X-rated films. I don't watch pornography. Buck Rogers, and this is out of the sleeve right now because we're currently watching Buck Rogers. And Buck Rogers is, I like it. It's a fun show. Again, 70s show, same production team that did Battlestar Galactica, and you can tell sometimes by the sound effects, by you recognize some of the ships that are used in this, even the uniforms. I've seen episodes where people were wearing the Colonial Viper uniforms. And season again, I'm going to say it, season 1 was better than season 2. When they went into space, a lot changed really fast when they went on the Ark, and I didn't care for a lot of that. Even though the Hawk character I thought was a really interesting character, I did not like a lot of I did not like a lot of the direction that they went in. They changed Tweaky's voice. They changed the announcer's voice from the beginning intro. Tweaky got his voice back a little more than halfway after, or halfway into the second season. They got Mel Blanc back and they changed the voice back because he had like this high-pitched squeaky voice and it just didn't feel right at all. This is another one that we're currently watching, so the sleeve sitting here without the discs, and that's the 90s Flash, which is a fun series. 90s Flash is fun. It's only one season, but you know, we're enjoying it. And where are we here? I think that's season 1 of Three's Company. Yeah, season 1 of Three's Company. Just a dumb show. Just like Gilligan's Island up there. It's a dumb show. And I haven't seen it since it was in syndication, but basically reruns on UHF since I was a kid. So I don't know if I'll still be entertained by it or if it'll still hold up, but I've only got the first season anyways. And Thor is here. He says, nice DVD collection you have. The original Flash is great. And James says, ever seen the films Heavy Metal, Rock and Roll, Beavis and Butthead, Do America? I've seen Beavis and Butthead. I've seen that film. I've seen Heavy Metal. Rock and Roll, I'm not sure if I've seen Rock and Roll. I'm not sure if I've seen that. We've seen Fire and Ice. We just rewatched that recently. Robert says, did they do Buck Rogers on Blu-ray? I'm not sure if they did. And Fabio, he says, good to see you. I've been enjoying the walkthroughs of the collection. Thank you for sharing. Well, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. As I try to catch up, because the comments on the set, you know, hands free here, but in landscape, the comments don't stay. If I have it turned up vertical, the comments, they stay on there. But if I turn it this way, the comment, it flashes and disappears. So, you know, I got to go back and look, and I don't always catch it. The Twilight Zone, one of the greatest TV series ever done, is The Twilight Zone with Rod Serling. Fantastic writing, amazing acting, excellent cinematography and use of negative space in the filming, since it was in black and white and a lot of stuff was done in dark settings. The worst episode is the very last episode in the series, which is not technically the last episode, but it's presented as the last episode in this run, where the kids are in the swimming pool, is better than anything is still better than anything they do now. It's a great series. They've tried to bring the Twilight Zone back several times, and it doesn't work because this is still better acted, it's still better written, and the themes are still relevant today. So whenever they try to bring Twilight Zone back, they screw it up. They never quite pull it off. And Blue Splash is here. Glad you could make it. Thanks for joining us. Robert says he prefers TV shows on Blu-ray or 4K because DVD always gets messed up. And Linestalker says, always mad you keep buying toys and movies. Are you? Well, there's nothing I can do about that. Can't help you. Nothing I can do for you. UFO. And it is UFO, not UFO. And this is another Jerry Anderson production. which is an interesting series. One season. I thought it was a really interesting premise. It was a really interesting premise. It's a fun show. Problem with it is that I think it's almost like they didn't know where they wanted to go with it, so they kept changing premise. And it's like, okay, but this isn't what you were doing before. Why change it now? But what are you going to do? I think it would have lasted longer if they had stuck to a certain premise or a certain plot device instead of switching it around constantly or switching around the concepts. Wizards and Warriors. A forgotten, and you recognize that actor from Taxi. A forgotten comedy. Wizards and Warriors is a forgotten comedy series. It was only one season, and it was making fun of, just like soap made fun of soap operas. It made fun of like fantasy themed shows. Essentially, it made fun of fantasy themed shows, and it's actually kind of fun for that very purpose. It's a lot of fun for that reason. V, the original series, which is the mini-series of V, which is brilliant writing, good acting, decent special effects, but then that led to V, the Final Battle, which was the second miniseries, which is not nearly as good, but it's still okay. It's still okay. It's still a fun watch. It's not as good as the first one, which led to V, the television series, which only lasted a single season, but wasn't really very good at all. V, the television series, was not a good series. Welcome back, Kotter. And this is another one that, by the time you got to season 4, it just kind of fell apart. The first 3 seasons are fun, dumb show, just like Three's Company or, again, Gilligan's Island up there. Fun show, but season 4, Kotter isn't there anymore because he's feuding with the producers. What's his name? John Travolta's not there because he's filming like real movies. He's in Saturday Night Fever. He's doing other projects, and it just didn't hold up anymore. When Things Were Rotten. Here's one a lot of people have probably never heard of. This is a Mel Brooks television series. Just like Wizards and Warriors is a parody of like period dramas. And in this case, they're making fun of like Robin Hood's era. One season, and then went away. One season and went away. But a lot of people have never even heard of this show. They've never heard of it. Robert said the V remake is horrible. V remake was horrible. And Anime says they prefer Spaceballs. Yeah, I have Spaceballs. I've seen Spaceballs. What's Happening? The first or all 3 seasons of What's Happening. Classic 70s show. It's just goofy. The show is goofy writing. And it didn't last beyond the 3rd season because of strife between one of the main characters and producers of the show. They brought the show back, What's Happening Now. I don't think that lasted past a season, did it? Who knows? But that wasn't nearly as good. Star Trek Picard, which I believe Edwin sent me this. Didn't you, Edwin, if you're out there? I have not opened it yet, though. Haven't had a chance. The Tick, the original live action series, which was only like, what, 6 or 7 episodes before it was canceled. It didn't last long. I forget how many episodes, but it did not last long. Fox pulled the show, although it was really popular. Really popular with fans. It's just fun and goofy to watch. Wonder Woman, the Linda Carter years, seasons 1, 2, and 3, and we got this one out because we're actually watching season 2 right now. Evie says Tick wasn't true to the comic. No, but is any of it true to the comics? I mean, seriously, none of it is. But Wonder Woman, the complete first, second, and third seasons with Linda Carter, it's goofy. It reminds me of Batman 66. It's almost like it's a parody of itself. Almost like it's a parody of itself. Meant to be funny but look like they're trying to take it seriously. And Evie wants to see the anime collection. We did that in the last video. We did that in the last video. The last one of these lives. We did anime. We did Saturday morning cartoons and after school cartoons. $6 Million Man, seasons 1 through 4. I do not have the 5th season. I need it to complete the set. You see, I also had the Bionic Woman #1. And so between the two of them, I needed more of the Bionic Woman as well. This is actually a really good drama. I really enjoyed this. And I remember watching it when I was a kid, but when you're young, you don't appreciate it as well. You don't appreciate it as well, and you go back and rewatch it as an adult, and you're like, wow, actually, I'm surprised. And this is one of those series. That's one of those series. Batman, the complete series, and of course, that's the 66 Batman with Adam West, which is a great series. Greatest American Hero, classic 70s, which is a fun show. And it wasn't gonna make it past the first season. They were going to rewrite it. Actually, they were going to replace him with a woman, and I believe that pilot is in here, but the pilot was never aired. And then they decided to just stay with it. Fun show, goofy primetime superhero show. Miami Vice, the complete series. This is a tough one for them to work on, and Elite Action says Batman was epic fun. Batman was epic fun. Yeah, Batman is hilarious. And just like with the Miami Vice, they actually tie in together because Batman the complete series, they had the hardest time getting this on DVD because there's so many guest appearances. Everybody wanted a piece of the pie. Everybody wanted a piece of the pie. Miami Vice is the same way because of all the music. And you found the same problem with WKRP as well, where there was so much original, real music, not redos. Like if you watch Knight Rider, we have Knight Rider also, the complete series, and my wife and I are watching that now. They have classic 80s music, but it's re-sung. Sometimes by David Hasselhoff is the one singing it. Miami Vice, it was just tough to get that on disc. Eventually to get it on disc. Alf, the complete series, way down here. There's the original Alf. Alf can be tough to watch. It was groundbreaking at the time. People really liked the show, but going back and rewatching it, a lot of it is hard to stomach because Alf, he never learns. He does not learn. He does not change. He's destructive. He wrecks their house. He eats all their food. They ended up into a double mortgage because of Alf, and he's, it's kind of hard to rewatch. Although the Christmas special, Alf Christmas special, is one of the best Christmas specials ever made. It'll surprise you. Merv Griffin Show, selections from the Merv Griffin Show, and then Firefly, which of course was one season, and they're always saying, "Oh, I want them to bring Firefly back. I want them to bring Firefly back." But do you really want them to? Do you really want them to redo Firefly? Will it really be the same, or will they screw it up? And then Airwolf. And I think we were watching this, and then we stopped because my wife didn't like the female character in it. The I forget what her part was, but my wife didn't like her because she was just annoying, which she was very, very annoying, actually, the female character in that. And that's what's sitting in here for television show DVDs. Primarily DVDs. I don't have a lot of Blu-rays. I don't really care. And people are always like, "Oh, well, the Blu-ray is so much better." And it's like, I grew up in an era with a tiny black and white cathode ray television. I'm not that concerned about like quality differences between a DVD and a VHS. So there we go. Don't know how many of you have seen a lot of these vintage shows, or if you recognize them, or if you enjoyed those, or maybe you saw something you've never seen before that you think is interesting. You can always look it up. And Brian says, "Do you dislike smart TVs?" Yeah, actually, the smart TVs are a pain in the ass. So is Alexa, so is Google, and all of that stuff listening to you and trying to make suggestions and interfering. I don't know why it's fading in and out like that. Hey, Robert, while you're in here, he says, "I'd rather have a Blu-ray because DVDs get damaged more easily." Okay. I haven't had too much trouble with it. The only DVDs we've had any trouble with, I think, was the Flash. 2 episodes wouldn't play. Everything else has been fine thus far. But I'll remind Robert, if it's okay, you are an admin. If you wouldn't mind cleaning up some of those comments a little bit. And Brian says, plus these modern TVs don't have RCA or RF ports, so I have to buy HD converters for everything. Indeed. Yeah, Robert, if you, I believe you are an admin, because I don't know if I can do it from the phone. Let me see. Yeah, I can make a report, but if you wouldn't mind also helping out with that, it would be much appreciated. But yeah, we got through that. I took my phone off the rig because it's fading in and out. So we got through that. Got through these. Got through these. Got through Uncle. Hey, buddy. How you doing? There's Dusty being nice and quiet. And next time, maybe we can take a look at some of the video games. Because you see I've got a bunch of different systems there. I've got the oldest system I have is the Xbox 360, but it starts with Atari. So hey everybody, hope you had a good time. Hope to see you again. We'll do this sometime again soon.